Hey friends, welcome to another Wolverine live stream. So sorry, I tried to do this a second ago and I guess I didn't have any sound. Thank you for letting me know. Hopefully now it's working. Anyway, I know it's been absolutely forever since you've seen me, and I don't want to apologize. I want to thank you for still being my subscriber. The reason I don't want to apologize is because I know every time that I apologize, you guys are like, we're just happy to see you. So thank you so much for supporting me and my little YouTube corner of the world. I wanted to pop on here because I realized that I have not made mention to you guys of so much of what's going on in my life right now. One of the major things being that in March, I was actually given another health diagnosis, which is pretty um, devastating, honestly. So, as a lot of you know, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disease that affects my joints. It affects my collagen, so it also affects any connective tissue in my body. So, my veins, my arteries, my digestive tract, my ligaments, my tendons, etc. So, everything is affected. And in March, I've been living with hip pain for quite a few years, and especially in the right hip, and it seems to be getting worse. So in March, I sought the opinion of a doctor that specializes in hip preservation and in EDS. I had previously had 2 or 3 MRIs of my right hip that showed nothing. So I finally found a doctor that specializes in EDS. I went and saw him. His name is Dr. Brian White. He is a hip preservation specialist here in Denver. And he did a special kind of MRI with contrast. They like inject contrast in there. It's called an arthrogram. And basically, they look at your joints. And for me, they did both sides of my hips. And in the right side, the one that's painful, that supposedly showed nothing on every other MRI that I've had, my labrums are completely frayed, totally frayed. And on the right side, I have hip dysplasia. So next month, on the 25th, I will be having labral reconstruction on the right side, which is basically where they replace my entire labrum with cadaver tissue. And then on the 29th, which is 4 days later, I will be having a GANS PAO procedure, which is really a big procedure. They basically cut the okay, so if this is my femur and this is my acetabulum, which is the hip joint where the ball and socket come together, right? In a healthy person, they look like this. The joint is completely covered on the top by the acetabulum. In hip dysplasia, your hip sits outside of the acetabulum, like such. So in the GANS PAO procedure, they're going to cut through my pelvis on 3 sides, move this joint over the top of my femur, and screw it back into place. So that is happening next month. My first procedure is the labral reconstruction on the right side, and then the PAO on the right side 4 days later. And then after about 6 months of rehab and healing, they'll do the labral reconstruction on the left side. Now, luckily on the left side, I do not have hip dysplasia. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful. I only have to go through the big surgery once, but that is happening next month. So I wanted to pop on because I realized that I had not even mentioned my diagnosis of hip dysplasia that I received in March. So you guys are kind of behind the curveball when it comes to news about me. So that's what's going on. I hopefully will be making more YouTube videos because I'll be stuck in bed a lot more. I have to spend, I think, 6 to 8 hours in this machine that just moves your leg back and forth. But the good news is that if everything goes well with my surgeries, I should be able to rely less on my wheelchair. I shouldn't have any hip dislocations ever again. And I won't need hip replacements as I get older because I don't have any arthritis as of yet in my hips. It's all just soft tissue injuries. So if they do everything right, my hips will sit better. I'll do gait training and PT, and hopefully I'll be able to walk a lot more, and maybe even without crutches, but I'll definitely still have to wear my knee braces. So that's that. But that's what's going on with me. And it's been a lot to take in. It's a pretty big thing to have to say yes to. It's I don't want to say scary, but it's definitely intimidating. I feel really confident. Um, Mostly I feel confident because I don't see any other choice. The amount of pain that my hip is in now, well, both of them, but especially the right side, is unbearable. Like I just can't. I just can't live like this. So there's not really another option. It's either get this procedure and fix the problem, or wait until the problem gets bad enough for a hip replacement, which my doctor said would probably be around 40 or 45. And unfortunately, hip replacements only last 10 to 15 years. So if I got a hip replacement, I'd need another one in 15 years, 10 to 15 years, and then another one after that, and possibly even a third. So hopefully, with this surgery, I will be able to avoid the need for one at all. And if not, I'll be able to prolong the amount of time before I need one, which would be great. So that's what's going on with me. That's a lot, I know. I know that I always apologize for like not being on here, and then I say that I'm going to do better, and then 6 months later I pop up and say I'm sorry again. So I don't want to apologize. I'm not sorry. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate being here myself today. So yeah, lots of big news. Oh, hi, Deanne. Sorry, I just had to get all that out before I even looked at the chat because it's so much, and like it's late in the day, so my brain fog is really insane right now. But I just really wanted to update my YouTube friends because you guys are the sweetest, and ask if you guys could pray for me next month, like the week of the 25th and the 29th. Um, I'll be having surgery, so it would be great to know that you guys are supporting me from afar. And like I said, I feel really confident. Dr. Brian White is the labral reconstruction specialist that I'm seeing here in Denver. He's amazing. He comes highly recommended by so many people. He's the pioneer of this procedure, the labral reconstruction. And then Dr. Presley Swan is the one doing my Gans PAO on the right side, and he walked me through the entire thing. So I feel like I'm in the best possible hands, and like I said, there's not really much choice. So it is what it is. I usually hate it when people say that, but for me, it is what it is. Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate your prayers. This will be like my first major surgery, so that's a little frightening. But I have had anesthesia before, so I know that's not an issue, and typically that's the most dangerous part of surgery. So, yay! But I was shocked. I was really shocked because I had been to 4 or 5, I think I think 4 orthopedic specialists and 1 rheumatologist, and I'd had X-rays, MRIs, CTs of my hips, and nothing. They said nothing. They said we don't know why you're in pain. Might just be EDS, might just be hypermobility, might be in your head, might be anxiety. And so when Dr. White had me do, I almost didn't do it because I had done an arthrogram before and it had showed nothing. And so when he said, trust me, if anything is there, we will see it. And with the amount of pain you're in and the way that you present, I believe you that there's a tear in your labrum. I think that we'll see it. So if you just do this one more MRI for me, I think we'll be able to figure out what's going on. And he was right. He told me that inside of my hip joint, it looks like somebody cleaned out a hairbrush and put it in there. And that's what my labrums look like. So that's a really delightful visual that he gave me. But it was really validating because it's the first time in my life that a doctor has actually looked for the problem instead of blaming it on my anxiety or my femaleness or, whatever gaslighting doctors do. So I'm really excited that I have him. Yes, Deanne. So Dr. Brian White is an orthopedic specialist and he only does hips. He pioneered this technique called labral reconstruction. So he's the one doing the soft tissue repairs or reconstruction in my hips. And then I have another doctor, Dr. Presley Swan, who is the other orthopedic specialist, and he is doing the PAO, which is the moving the hip joint over my femur, which Dr. White is also, he's doing a bunch of stuff. So he's doing the labral reconstruction, and then he said he's going to shorten my teres tendons because I dislocate so often. So hopefully with the combination of those two things and correcting my hip dysplasia in my right hip, I should not have to worry about having any more hip dislocations. Which, I mean, that is, I can't imagine my life without hip dislocations. I have 30 to 40 a day. And it's gotten worse because when I first saw these doctors, they told me I would need to lose a little bit of weight for surgery. So I have been exercising in the pool. And now whatever was left of my hip is just gone. It's so bad. So the idea of not having hip dislocations or even having fewer hip dislocations, it's impossible for me to imagine. I mean, I feel really hopeful, but I also feel like I don't know what that's like. I've had hip dislocations my whole life. I thought everybody had them until I got diagnosed with EDS, and then I realized that nope, that's not normal. So, yeah, it's two new doctors, and luckily my pain management doctor is going to work with them to like help me manage my pain after surgery as well. So, oh, and thank you, Deanne. I think it will. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be amazing and life changing and wonderful. Um, I can't imagine what it's going to be like, and I think recovery is going to be a little rough. But everybody that I know that has EDS who's had this type of procedure is doing so much better. So the idea of getting my life back a little bit sounds amazing to me. Um, but what I was going to say is, speaking of pain management, so I don't remember if I told you guys about the pain patch that I was on. It's called Butrans, and it comes in. This is an old box because this is 5 micrograms. This is just the dates and when I put it on. But they're these little patches. Um, I was on a 7.5 microgram dose, and it was wonderful. It was helping so much with my pain. I loved it so much. No side effects, nothing horrible. But just recently, my mast cell activation syndrome decided to act up, and I started getting a rash from the adhesive. So this month, I stopped doing the patch, and my doctor, Siobhan is her name, tried to change me to, they have like a form of it that sticks on the inside of your cheek and dissolves, and then it releases throughout the day. So it's the same exact drug, the same exact dosage, but a different delivery method. And my insurance denied coverage for it. So my first thought was, okay, I'll pay out of pocket, but it's $483 a month. So there's no way I could afford that. Luckily, my doctor fought for me, and just on Friday, they approved it finally. So that's good news, but the pharmacy was out of stock, so I won't get it until about Monday night. Um, my pain has been off the charts. I've been completely unmedicated for about 3 weeks now, and if I didn't have such an amazing doctor, well, she's actually a nurse practitioner, but if she wasn't so amazing, I don't know that I would still be here. I know that sounds really dark and really sad, but I cannot tell you how much pain I live in every day, and what a wonderful and magical world we live in, that there are medications that can help control that, because it is not a tolerable amount of pain anymore. It used to be, and it's gotten so much worse. So tomorrow evening, I should be able to pick up my meds. Hopefully, cross your fingers, pray to God, do whatever it is you do, because I have had it where they were out of stock on the patches, and then because it wasn't the right brand, my insurance wouldn't cover it. So let's all pray that everything works out perfectly, and that tomorrow evening or early tomorrow afternoon would be great. I can go and pick up these new meds, and it's the same med, but I haven't been on it for weeks. So I just have been in an intolerable amount of pain, and I have not been doing very well with that. I've been in bed most of the time. I have been forcing myself to go out and do things with my kids and my friends, but like mostly because I have surgery next month and I know I'm not going to be able to do anything for a while, so I'm just pushing past the pain. But there are times, you guys, when it is so bad. It is so bad. And I didn't realize how bad it was because I've been medicated for about 2 years now. And not just on opiates. Like the buprenorphine is technically an opiate, but it's not addictive. It's not dangerous. It's very safe. One of the safest meds on the market. And because of that, and its amazing ability to manage my pain, I have not been aware of how much worse my pain has gotten. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited about this hip surgery, is because my hip is still the worst joint in my body. But I'm excited about it because if I can reduce any part of my pain, I'm happy to do that. And the idea of having pain that's because for a reason instead of just existing um, is exciting too. So I'm really excited about it. I think everything will go smooth. I mean, I just feel in my soul that things are going to go fine. I know the recovery is about a year, so it's going to be a little bit rough. But the doctor said I should be able to walk without crutches in about 8 weeks. I just can't do anything like jump or, I mean, not that I run anyway. I used to. It's not even a goal anymore. But yeah, it should be a huge boost for my quality of life. And then as far as pain management goes, as soon as I get this new med, Siobhan said that we can go up in dose. Hopefully we can get to the point where I'm not taking any narcotics unless I have like a dislocation or something. So I would just be on the buccal patch and nothing else. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it goes really well. Well, and by nothing else, I mean no other opiates, but I'd still be on like muscle relaxers and everything else I take for nerve pain. But um, that's just an anti-anxiety and an antidepressant that happen to help with my nerve pain and my mental health. So yeah, that's a lot. But in other news, I also have joined the By Craftual Club. I now am learning how to knit. I'm making socks, and I'm super excited about it. So I actually already made most of one sock, and as a lifelong crocheter, I am brand new to knitting. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I did not realize that I was twisting my stitches, so I knitted like 90% of a sock before I realized I was twisting my stitches. And so I decided to start over. And I used different yarn than I did on the first try. So I'm going to go back to the first yarn after this one. But I'm just making this little sock. And I'm using this yarn from Dye's Yarn. She's in the UK. She sent me this for Valentine's Day, which was the sweetest thing, like 2 years ago, a while ago. And it's this little like chocolate box. And these were all wrapped in this pink tinfoil. It was the cutest freaking thing. So it was a Valentine's Day gift. And I've been making doll clothes and stuff with it, but I realized that there's enough here, I think, to make a pair of scrappy socks. So that's what I'm doing. And oh, Tian, I was so intimidated to learn how to knit. I have been afraid of knitting my entire life. I've been a crocheter for like 22 years. I was so scared of the double needles. And now look at me. I got double pointed needles even. I look like a professional. I still barely know what I'm doing. I will just say this, that the guy that is helping me the most with my knitting is a gentleman in Germany named Norman, and his YouTube channel is Nimble Needles, and he has a blog called nimbleneedles.com with a whole beginner's course. I'm not sponsored by him. He barely knows me. Like, I've commented on a few of his videos, but I love his videos because they make it super clear. And he's so encouraging because he's like, don't be afraid. We're going to make a sock, and we are doing it. So thanks to him, now I know how to knit. I did not realize though I was twisting my stitches, and it turns out I was yarning over the wrong direction. So, in crochet it doesn't really matter which direction you yarn over, but in knitting it does. So if you are new to knitting and you're not sure what to do, or Deanne, if you want to learn how to knit, go on over and check out Norman on Nimble Needles here on YouTube because he's amazing. I mean, I literally don't know him personally. Like, I've commented on a few of his videos. He's commented back, but the way that he teaches makes it so approachable. And he just starts with every little skill and teaches you how to fix mistakes and, how to make XYZ. And I mean, look at this. It looks like a sock. It looks like a sock. Can you believe that? I am making a sock. Also, Deanne, these needles are amazing. They're Knitter's Pride. They're called carbons. So I was knitting with these two because it's like a Franken set my friend gave me. I was knitting with these bamboo ones. I don't know if he teaches left-handed. I'm actually left-handed too, but I just do everything right-handed because it's easier for me to adapt to right-handed people apparently than it is for them to adapt to me. So I've just always done everything right-handed. So I guess I'm more ambidextrous now. But if you crochet left-handed, there are a million knitting tutorials on left-handed knitting. I think you would still benefit from his videos even if you are left-handed and you are watching his right-handed tutorials, because he literally like goes into the stitch, like he'll tell you about the structure of the stitches and which direction you yarn over, all of it. So I think even if if he doesn't do left-handed, like I think it would still be beneficial. I mean, I wish that I don't know. I don't want to say I regret crocheting and knitting right-handed because I love knitting and I love crocheting. I just wish I would have been a little bit more resourceful in learning how to do these things left-handed. Oh, here, I'll type it into the box. His name is Norman, and his channel is Nimble Needles. And he has a blog that is nimbleneedles.com. But yeah, he's lovely. He's just, there's something really soothing about his videos too, I find. So, like, before when I was trying to learn, and this is the thing, Deanne, this is really important. When I was trying to learn how to knit before, I would get so frustrated because it seems to take forever and I couldn't wrap my brain around it. And I would do one thing, realize I messed up, and then feel like I had to start all over again. And the important thing to remember is that you should enjoy the learning process, because I have frogged more times than I've knitted at this point. Like, so much frogging. And frogging is a good thing in knitting because then you learn about picking up your stitches, and don't be intimidated. It's really not as scary as it seems, I promise. I was also terrified for years. For years I've been terrified of knitting. But what I was going to say, needles, okay? So everybody told me start with bamboo because they're the best for beginners. And while I would agree that bamboo is nice for beginners because it doesn't slip like metal, these are blunt, okay? So these ones here, let me sort them out here. I have a full set of Takumi by Clover. So they come in a set of 5. These are double pointed needles. If you're afraid of double pointed needles, circular needles are an option, but I actually find this a lot easier because it's more like you're knitting on regular knitting needles. It's a little bit more straightforward than circular needles, because circular needles you have to know how to do like a magic circle, or I have no idea. But with the double pointed needles, you don't have to know how to do that. And I think everything that Norman does basically is with double pointed needles. So it's old school, plus they're cheap, which is nice. But I will say, don't get Takumi, they suck. They're just really blunt. So especially if you're knitting something like a sock and you go to pick up those tiny stitches with a blunt needle, it's like impossible. So don't get Takumi. If you're going to get bamboo needles, I only have 3 of these. I don't have an actual set. These are Chiaogu needles. And if you just look at the, actually they both look really blunt, but this one is actually a little bit sharper. Maybe if I put my hand up, you can see it a little better. So like, yeah, you can kind of see it better. So the Takumi ones have more of like a blunt point, and then the Chiaogos are like slightly pointier. And so I figured, bamboo's a good place to start because everybody says bamboo. But then Norman on one of his videos said that these ones are his favorite. And so I begged and pleaded, and my husband finally let me buy a set. They come in a set of 5. These are Knitter's Pride Carbons, Karbonz, because they're cool. They're made of carbon fiber. And the tips are nickel-plated brass. And do you see how sharp that is? Like, for comparison. All right, so even the sharp bamboo. So I got a Takumi. In the middle is the Chiaogu, or whatever it's called. And then on this end is the Knitter's Pride Carbons. Do you see the difference? So this one is my favorite. Granted, I am knitting a sock. If you are one of those people that really enjoys like bulky yarn crocheted projects, if you're an instant gratification kind of person, I I have no needle recommendations for you because I don't know. I have no idea. Although I will say that I found circular needles are way better than straight needles, Deanne, especially if you have trouble with your wrists and your hands, because when you're knitting with a straight needle, all of the weight of the project is on your wrist the entire time that you're knitting. And as it gets heavier, there's more and more weight on your wrist. I should have grabbed a circular needle. I don't have one with me, but pretend that there's a cord here, okay? Pretend that these are circular needles. So we'll pretend like they're connected down here. When you're knitting with circular needles, instead of holding the weight of your project on the end of each needle as you're knitting, the cord allows it to hang down and kind of sit on the table or sit in your lap or wherever, so that all of that weight isn't on your wrist and your hands. I have a bunch of trouble with my hands, and part of the reason I thought I hated knitting and that I was never going to get it is because I was learning on straight needles. So my recommendation would be pick a project for beginners, find out what needle size you need, and then get a middle of the road pair of circular needles. Don't go crazy, but $20 is not a ridiculous amount, and somebody would buy them from you if you find out you don't like them. So I would say invest in circular needles instead of straight needles. If you want to learn how to do socks, I am obsessed. I'm obsessed with these carbons by Knitter's Pride, or I think Knit Pro in the UK. It's the same brand. But yeah, so Deanne, if you find yourself getting really frustrated, or you can't find like a comfortable position in which to knit, I would say it's probably the straight needles. So I had no idea it made such a difference, but the right tools are everything. And also, before you start, look up which direction to yarn over for a knit stitch and a purl stitch, because I was doing it backwards, and that's why all my stitches got twisted. Because like I said, it doesn't matter in crochet, but it does matter in knitting. I don't know who just popped in and out, but hi. Somebody stopped by and they're like, oh, yarn. I should really have a more. You're welcome. I mean, I'm sharing just because like I feel silly for having let this intimidate me for so long that I didn't start it until now. So I don't know, I'm like proud of myself for doing it, and then I'm also kind of disappointed that I don't have a bunch of socks that I made for myself yet, because I could have done it years ago. Let's see what else is new. I also got a sewing machine. I've been making a lot of doll clothes for my baby girl, and I've been making underwear for everybody in the family. So that's that's what's going on over here. My son was like, "Mom, you're weird," because I told him I bought fabric and I got elastic, and I'm like, "I'm going to make underwear for everybody. That's going to be my first project." And he's like, "That is the weirdest thing to start. Why would you start with underwear?" And I'm like, "Because nobody's going to see them. If you make a mistake, it's not a problem because nobody's going to see them. And everybody wears underwear. We all need underwear." So I made us all matching underwear. It's really cute. We don't all wear them on the same day. Jake made sure to let me know that he does not plan on wearing coordinating underwear with all of the family, which would be quite awkward. I just realized like how ghetto my background looks. It's hot, so I have my window open, and these curtains are like shoved back here so that they don't blow in the wind. And I got my permanent resident shark stickers hanging out. So I actually did make a pair of like slipper socks, crochet slipper socks. And I think if you were to do it with like a really tiny crochet hook like this one, or and some sock yarn, it might be all right. But what I found with the crochet, let's see what size this is. A 2.75 tiny little crochet hook. I think if you did it with a small crochet hook, that they would be really nice. What I found with crocheting socks though is that the fabric is holy. So, oh good, yeah, fingering yarn would be perfect. I mean, I would love to know how they turn out because mine just looked like Swiss cheese. Like they were just so holy. They were cozy, but I really want socky socks, and that's why I'm knitting. I have sensory issues though, so like holes in my socks, it's just. Also, I noticed so like with um, knitted fabric, you don't really feel like the joins and the stitches so much. And I realized that crochet has kind of a more solid stitch. So I wish I had a crocheted item right here. I don't. I didn't prepare for this. Can you tell? I just knocked something over. Anyway, what I was going to say is with the crocheted socks that I made instead of being like socky material, they were like, like how this has like ribbing and stuff. It was like holy, so you could like see skin through it, which I think would be really good for like summertime. But I mean, I did it with like a DK yarn, and I think it was like a 4 millimeter crochet hook. So I mean, I probably could have gone smaller. Yeah. So if you don't have patience, Deanne, it's going to be a challenge. I had to change my entire mindset before starting on the sock business. Although Norman has made it a lot easier, I will say. But I've been working on these. I had to frog these all the way. I just started over today because I had already done the heel on this sock. And this is my second sock. The first one I'd already done the heel and I was close to the toe before I realized it. And then I had started this one and was past the heel when I noticed that all of my stitches were twisted. So I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what that meant. Um, and I found a few, I don't remember the lady's name, but there's some other lady who's like all into the science of knitting. And she was talking about twisted stitches and like she did a really close up version of it so you could see. I highly recommend looking into that because as a crocheter, it's the way that you yarn over that causes them to get twisted. So you just have to like retrain your brain a little bit. I just am hoping to save you the pain that I went through because frogging an entire sock, especially your first sock, after you've never knitted, is one of the most devastating. Just, oh my God, the worst frogging, the worst frogging of my life. But I told my husband, and I'm telling myself this, that I'm okay with it because it's a learning process. So I'm going to be super happy when I actually do end up with a pair of socks because so far I've been working on this for several days and then I frogged it. And then today I've been working on it and started over again. But this one, I haven't had the heart to frog yet. It's going to get frogged because every single stitch is twisted. Every single stitch is twisted. By the way, all of this yarn is from Dyes Yarn on Etsy. She's based in the UK. I don't think she ships to the US. I'm just a special case because I bought like so much yarn all at once. I bought like 3 or 4 sock sets, and she threw in some mini little hanks, and then we're friends, so she sent me this cute little, like these little yarn bonbons for Valentine's Day. Okay, so this sock, if you look really close, maybe if I hold them up, you can see what I mean. I think I'm far enough on the sock now you can see it. So if you look at the stitches, let me try to get all my ends out of the way here. Okay. I'll just lay one on top of the other so you can maybe see it. Focus. I don't know if you can see it or not, but on this bottom, maybe the pink. On the bottom sock, you can see how one leg of the stitch crosses over the other leg of the stitch. And it makes kind of like it looks like a braid almost. So I don't know if you can see that, but this leg is in front of this leg. And apparently when you knit, I guess I should turn this the same direction. Apparently when you knit, no, I had that the right way, sorry. Super close up of my face. When you knit, the stitches are supposed to lay flat. So one leg is not in front of the other. They're both flat. So I don't know if you can see how they like cross. And then on this one, they're like flat. Somebody's going to come watch this video later and be like, wow, this is terrible production quality. But okay, I'm still telling you about it. You've already seen it. Hi, Susan. I'm good. I was just telling Deanne here, our beautiful friend, that I am having surgery next month. I'm learning how to knit as a lifelong crocheter. I'm really proud of that. So next month I am having 2 surgeries, kind of back to back. One is an overnight in the hospital, so it's like I go in, I have the procedure, and then I go home the next day. And the second one is 4 days later, and I go in and I'm there for 3 to 6 days, depending. And what the surgeries are is we're starting with my right hip, and it's a labral reconstruction. So my labrums and my hips are completely shredded. They're so bad. So the doctor's going to go in and shorten my teres tendon, and he's going to replace my labrum with basically cadaver tissue, but not a cadaver labrum. He like builds a new labrum. And hopefully that will stop me from having any hip dislocations forever. Fingers crossed. Unfortunately, in my right hip, luckily and only my right hip, but unfortunately in my right hip, I also have hip dysplasia. So the second surgery is I'll do what I did for Deanne. So if this is your femur and this is your acetabulum, which is the joint that your femur sits in, the ball and socket joint, on a healthy person, it looks like this, where the femur is mostly covered on the top side from the acetabulum. It fits nicely in there. When you have dysplasia, it sits like this, and so part of your femur is sticking out. The second procedure that I'm having is called a Gans PAO, which is basically where they cut the acetabulum free of the pelvis, move it on top of the femur into the proper position, and screw it in place. So that's happening next month, and the recovery is about a year. So that's happening on the first procedure is the 25th, and the second procedure is the 29th of August. And then 6 months after that, they'll do the labral reconstruction on my left side. Luckily, I do not need the bigger procedure on the left side, just the right side. So once it's all said and done, I shouldn't suffer from any more hip dislocations, which I can't even imagine what life would be like. I literally can't. I was saying it earlier, as Ian can vouch for. I have no idea what that would be like. I have upwards of 40 hip dislocations on just the right side every day. As I'm sitting here talking to you, my hip is out. So, especially since I started exercising in preparation for surgery, my hip has gotten much worse, and now it's out almost all the time. So, I'm excited about the procedure. I'm a little bit nervous because it's pretty big surgery, but I am really excited at the idea of a better quality of life in the future. So, that's what's been going on. I know I haven't popped on here in forever. I got that hip dysplasia and frayed labrums diagnosis back in March, and it's been a process. So I have just been focusing on trying to get as healthy as possible for that. I joined a rec center. I've been swimming. I haven't been swimming in several weeks though because my hip has gotten to the point where it's unbearable. But I do start. It's not really a new medication, but a new delivery method of my medication. Hopefully tomorrow, and then my doctor said we can go up in dose until I'm close to pain free, which would be great because then I can hopefully start exercising again, and hopefully PT will go easier after surgery as well. I know. I am sorry. I said I don't want to apologize for not being on here. It's just that with the hip dysplasia diagnosis and finding out I need this gigantic surgery. I mean, they are literally going to break my pelvis in 3 places and screw it back together. And then they're going to completely replace my labrums and shorten my tendons. Like, it's a lot. So I have been trying my best to spend as much time as possible with my kids. I've been spending time with my family. I've been hanging out with my sister-in-law, just trying to get together with old friends and that sort of thing. So I haven't actually been home very much, which is great, although it is starting to take a huge toll on me physically. I'm just trying so hard to get as much socialization and like lovey-dovey happy memories in before surgery, just in case. Nothing's going to happen, but just in case. And also because I'm going to be stuck in bed for several weeks after the fact. So I haven't been on YouTube in forever. Thank you, Suze. I am trying. I am really trying. I'm hydrated today, so I'm proud of that. Actually, I'm gonna. Oh, we got a third member. I wonder who it is. Please say hi so I know who's here. It'll make me so happy if you say hello. Um, but yeah, so that was a huge blow. So I was telling Gian earlier that I'm gonna adjust here for a second because my hip is killing me. So I was telling Deanne earlier that I had several MRIs before this, and I had seen, I believe, four orthopedic specialists and 1 rheumatologist about my hips, because my hips have been in pain since forever. And I ran track in high school, so it has just progressively gotten worse. I ran track as an adult too, or I ran as an adult. So it's just gotten progressively worse over the years. And I went to so many doctors, and I had so many x-rays and so many MRIs. I had an arthrogram. I did all of these things trying to figure out what's going on, and everybody said there's nothing wrong with you. The amount of pain that my hip is in is completely debilitating. It's completely debilitating. It stops me from doing all the things that I enjoy. So to hear that there's nothing there is really disheartening. And one of the specialists that I saw is like one of the best specialists in Colorado. She specializes in complex cases, which Ed's I would consider a complex case. And when I went to see her, she took an x-ray and she literally said to me, "We see people with treatable conditions here." Because she couldn't see anything on the x-ray. She said pristine. She said that my joints were pristine and there was nothing she could do for me. So I really thought there was nothing that could be done and that my hip pain was just going to continue to get worse. And eventually it would be so unbearable that I don't know what would happen. Luckily, I found this doctor. I live in Colorado. So I live in Aurora, Colorado. Denver's not far, though. It's like 20 minutes away. So anyway, I got the name of this doctor from an Ed's group that I'm in and went to see him. And he said, I want to do an MRI. So we did an MRI. Didn't see much. Then he said, I'd like to do a T4 MRI with arthrogram, which is where they inject radioactive iodine into your hip capsule and then they put you through the MRI. And I didn't want to do it because I'd been through so many MRIs with doctors telling me that they could see nothing. But he promised me, he's like, if there's something there, we will see it because this is a different kind of MRI. It's like more powerful, I guess. Anyway, so I went and did the MRI. And then the next day he calls me and he says, I think you should come in. So I made an appointment. I went in to see him. He had my x-rays and my MRIs and everything. And he said, if you look here, it looks like somebody cleaned out a hairbrush and stuck it in your hip joint because your labrums are completely frayed. So basically, if they're like a rope, right, that's all twisted together, they had split ends everywhere because of my faulty collagen and my lifelong love of running. So, I mean, obviously I can't run anymore. I use a wheelchair like all the time now, mostly because of my hips. So he was the first doctor who ever found anything wrong with me. But then after he told me about my labrums being shredded, he noticed that I have hip dysplasia in my right hip, which I will have had from birth, but it went undiagnosed because it's very subtle. So he referred me to another doctor to do the bigger procedure next month. So it's been a journey since March. It's been a lot going on, and I don't remember the last time I made a video. It's probably been longer than March. I've just been trying to like cope, I guess. It's a lot because like the procedures I'm excited about now, but when I heard that I needed this procedure and they explained it to me and they showed me the whole here's your hip and here's what we do and like I'm gonna have like these 7-inch screws in my hip forever. And it takes a year to recover because the bone has to grow back and all this, that, and the other. It was quite devastating. And especially when they said that my alternative option is to allow it to get bad enough, which will take a while. And I can't imagine it getting worse than it is now. I cannot imagine that. I don't want to imagine that. But the alternative to surgery is basically to wait until it gets bad enough to replace my hips. But because of my age, I would have to do that about 3 or 4 times in my life because hip replacements only really last 10 to 15 years. So we want to avoid that. With this surgery, hopefully I will never need a hip replacement. And if I do, it will be decades later than I would have needed a hip replacement because he said 5 years I would need a hip replacement. And I would be suffering for that entire 5 years because my hips are just going to keep chewing themselves up until they're gone. So, yes, thank God I did find 2 wonderful, amazing surgeons that are going to help me. Dr. Brian White in Colorado, in Denver, is a labral reconstruction specialist. He's actually the one that pioneered the technique that I'm having done. I keep name dropping in case somebody with EDS watches this video that happens to have hip issues. I hope that they do check him out. Like, it took so much for me to find him, and I don't want anybody else to have to go through all that. Oh, thank you. They actually light up too, but I don't have a USB port. So like when you plug in the USB, this part lights up. It's so cute. I bought them because my daughter has these cute little pink ones and she wanted us to match. So I got
The ears come off, but they're they're fun. I use them a lot for gaming. Hi, Jane. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. So Jane already knows what's going on with surgery and everything because she stalks me. No, not really. She's on my Facebook though, so she already knows what's up. But I was just telling everybody about surgery next month, Jane. Also, check me out, Jane. I'm a knitter. Can you believe it? I was so scared of this for the longest time, but I'm making socks. So super happy about that. Yeah, Jane stalks me all the time, so she's totally caught up on what's going on. She there's no news for her except maybe the knitting thing. Although I think she's in the yarn group. Yeah, she is in the yarn group. So she already knew about that. Sorry, I'm trying so hard to stay hydrated. I don't know if you can. This camera is kind of lame. I need to get a new one, but it's just what's built in. You would think for $1,200 your computer would have a decent webcam, but it doesn't. But what I was going to say is if you look, I'm really happy right now. I have been drinking water. That's it. I haven't been doing anything else with my skin. But this is the first time. I'm 35. This is the first time in my life I don't have a zit anywhere. Now, granted, I start my period next week, so it's going to happen. But I just want to share with you all that this is the first time in my 35 years. Well, not the first time in 35 years, but the first time since my teenage years. No zits. I don't know. They'll probably come back though. He started with a sock in the 1900s. Oh my God, don't say the 1900s. That makes me feel ancient. At the turn of the century. Oh, Lordy. How are you, Jane? I hope you're good. I've been meaning to call you. I just never call anybody because I get like phone anxiety. I'm weird. I would rather just YouTube. Or like, well, Messenger is fine, but like the idea of actually calling somebody, it doesn't happen. Unless you're a doctor, in which case I'm always on hold with you. So, anyway, I'm wondering what I should do for a backdrop. I'm actually going to switch sides with my husband when I have my surgery because his side's closer to the bathroom on the bed. Um, and I'm wondering what I should do for my backdrop because I think the sharks need to retire. They've been there a while. Also, it looks really untidy back there just because like I have so much crap on my nightstand. Oh, I so Jane, I love StreamYard when it's somebody else doing it. I have an account. I just need to like use it. You can knit slippers in your own pattern, but no socks yet. I I'd be interested to knit some. What kind of yarn do you use for slippers? I just okay. So apparently sewing, one of the hardest things you can make is underwear. So I started with underwear, and apparently with knitting, one of the hardest things you can do is a sock heel. So I started with a sock, of course. I don't know what my deal is. I always like to dive into the absolute hardest thing I can find, and then go from there. But I was so Jane and Susan, I was telling Deanne that it turns out I twisted all of my stitches on this sock that I know Jane has seen in the yarn group. I don't know. Are you in the yarn group, Susan? I can't remember. If not, you should join. But I realized I twisted all my stitches. So this beautiful sock that I've made that looks very sock-like in nature, I have to frog. Gotta start over. But it's part of the learning process. So I know you are, Deanne. I see you in there. So you already knew I was knitting. I'm just really proud. Super proud. I don't think that I mentioned that this is the third attempt in the group. I don't think I've posted this one at all in the group. Actually, I probably should. Because what happened was when I realized that I had twisted all my stitches and needed to frog this thing, I didn't have the heart to do it yet. So it's not on my needles, but I'm going to frog it at some point. It's probably going to sit in this bag for like a year and then I'll frog it because it's so heartbreaking. But even though I twisted my stitches, would you guys check this out? I made a sock heel. It's got a heel. It's a sock heel. So proud of myself. It's a sock heel with twisted stitches though. Foreplay. So Susan, it is on here. Let me see. You guys can stare at me using the internet for a second while I go on Facebook. I will get you a link right now. Copy. So this is the yarn group on Facebook. You should just be able to click and then hit join, and then there's a couple of questions to answer. I think half the people in the group didn't answer them. I let you in anyway. I don't really care. I'm not one of those moderators or admins that just tries to rule with an iron fist. It's not me. You were a seamstress, a knitter, crocheter, and started with the hardest things too. Started sew with. Oh my god, I have not done silk yet. You're insane, lady. Silk sounds terrifying. I have done though a lot of jersey knits. Sorry, I'm gonna move you guys around because my hip is killing me. I might actually have to go soon because my hip is being a jerk. Now you guys are on my lap. So anyway, sewing. I got the cutest little sewing machine. I will make a video at some point, probably in like 3 years, when I decide to YouTube again. But oh no, who left? Somebody left. That's okay. Anyway, whenever I get around to it, which at some point in the future, because time is an illusion anyway, I will make a video about my sewing machine because it is so cute. It is like mint green, adorable, totally cute. And then I wanted to make a video, more herbalism videos, but I think I'm just gonna wait to do anything like that until after surgery. You should. You should get a Patreon, Jane. You should start teaching how to sew on Patreon or something. You know, I wrapped my tickle too tight and it is squeezing my brains. Squeezing my brains. Here, that's a little. Well, now it looks floppy. I don't care. It was too tight. So, yeah, I think you should. I think you should teach sewing. I think that'd be a great idea. I would probably learn from you. I know how to sew a little bit. I mean, I've mended a few things and I have made underpants. Like 5 pairs of underpants and a bunch of doll clothes. I've made a doll jump. Oh, and a jumpsuit for Ayla. Which I think you saw that, right, Jane? I love the idea of making wedding dresses. Does it say to put in an email password? That is weird. It shouldn't say that. Unless you mean like unless you're not logged into Facebook, but it shouldn't. That is weird. Maybe one of my mods is messing with people. Let me see here. Manage membership questions. Yeah, all I have for membership questions is this group is meant to be a sanctuary. No current events are to be discussed. Talk about it elsewhere. Do you agree? So if there's anything else besides that, I don't know why it would ask you for an email password. The only thing that I can think is that maybe you're not logged in and Facebook is asking you to log in which case it would ask for a password. But you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to, since I'm on here, I am going to delete my membership questions and turn off the rules. Okay, Susan, if you try joining now, hopefully you won't even have to answer any questions. So, yeah, that's my thing. I didn't want to say that, Jane, but yeah, brides. I mean, I had a lot of fun at my wedding, but I'm pretty easy to get along with. I have met some people, and I have been in some weddings, or at some weddings, not in some weddings, but at some weddings where the bride is a monster. I mean, women in general, I struggle with. I think I'm not sure why, but I feel like men are easier for me to read with my autism. I feel like I have an easier time communicating with them. And women, there's so much subtext and like stuff under the surface that when you're talking to them, it's hard to like make sense of what they want you to feel. And so I have always struggled with those relationships. And especially during times of stress, women can get really intimidating to be around. So, okay, Susan. Well, I'm not really sure why it's asking for, it shouldn't be asking you for an email address. Um, Let me try one more thing. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would try to invite you, but because we're not friends on Facebook, I can't invite you. So I don't want to put my personal Facebook info here. Um, are you friends with anybody here on Facebook? Because I'm wondering if somebody could friend request you and then add you to the group. That might be easier. But 3 in the morning. I love it. Oh my god, I would lose it. I would not be okay with that. That would be upsetting. I can't imagine putting in all because like making underwear takes hours, or at least takes me hours because I'm new at it. But the idea of excuse me while I hydrate. By the way, I found these sugar-free electrolytes for my pots. They're called Squincher Zero. Pretty good. They taste kind of like Kool-Aid, and they have a lot of potassium in them, so they help. I know. Could you imagine putting in like that's like if you were to knit or crochet an Afghan and it takes you months, right? And then you give it to the person. They're like, I don't like the colors. I think I would slap somebody. I mean, not actually, obviously, because I'm not much for fighting. But I think in my mind, I would at least imagine slapping somebody in that situation because I have no patience for that sort of nonsense. So, how is everybody else doing? Are you guys doing anything exciting? Anything new? Any big events coming up for you guys? I hope none of you also have to have surgery because that's not fun. I'm probably gonna go in like 5 minutes when we hit an hour because my hip is just really starting to hurt me. Oh, okay. I see. Huh. That's funny. All right, that's not as bad. I thought you made the whole dress and then she's like, I don't want it because that would be upsetting. Do you ever watch that show, Say Yes to the Dress? Speaking of shows, I need a bunch of show recommendations because I'm gonna be stuck in bed for a while. A lot of crocheting. Any big projects? Are you doing little projects? What are you doing? I need to know everything. Yeah, I've been knitting all the time. I it's funny because I don't know about you guys, but like when because I have so many crafts that I do, when I do one craft, I feel like I'm cheating on the other crafts. It's like for a while I wasn't doing anything but journaling, and I filled up almost an entire journal in like a month. And then I was sewing for a while and I wasn't crocheting. And then I was crocheting and I wasn't sewing, and now I'm knitting. And so I feel like I'm cheating on all the other crafts. Like I need to do all of them all the time, otherwise I don't know what. It's just a weird thing my brain does. Sorry, there was like a weird glitch in the corner of the screen when I did that with a water bottle. It freaked me out a little. This camera is really low quality. Not a plain Jane. I like that title, Jane. That's cute. Message me the link on Facebook and I'll join it. Or you can put it here. I'm fine with that too. Whatever. I'm not going to tell you you can't do that. As you guys know, my videos are super structured and well thought out beforehand. And super consistent as well. I would like to be one of those people that does like a YouTube video every week. And when I go outside and like I'm in nature, it's easier to do that. But when I'm stuck in the house, a 2 year make along? Wow. Is it supposed to be 2 years or is that just how long it's taken you? Because I did a 9 week make along that took me 3 years. I did the Sacred Space by Helen Shrimpton, which is a beautiful pattern. That was my dragon project I showed you guys, and like it took forever. It came out so pretty though. I'm actually working on uh it's called the Cottywomple. So my friend Michelle, who is in the yarn group, when she found out I was having surgery, she bought me this pattern that's a book like this thick. If it was close by, I would grab it, but I don't have it close by. Or do I? I do. I do have it close by. Haha. Oh, I see. Oh, thanks, Jane. Yeah, I love these headsets. They were like, I think they were like 23 bucks on Amazon. I love them. Okay, so here's the pattern. It is called, let me take the clear, let me move the clear one so there's not that glare. It is called the Cottywomple. Okay? Cottywomple. Still a little bit of a glare, but. And the Cottywomple is interesting because it starts with these base blocks, and then, depending on which path you choose, your project turns out differently. So these are all from the same pattern. All of these are from the same pattern. So they have different starting blocks in the middle, and then there's different paths that you can follow. And I mean, look at the thickness of this pattern. It's huge. Yeah, it's amazing. So I started it, and I'm only slightly lost because it's only been like 2 months since I picked it up. But I am doing I think it was square number 4. Let me find it. I'll show it to you guys. Yeah, I think so. I think. So I started with this square, and then you have options like you can do a square to circle. What are the options? I can't remember. You can do a square to circle, or a foundation mandala, or you can join the blocks like this. You can do a round mandala like this. The foundation mandala is instead of blocks though. And then block extensions. So she has a bunch of. I hope she doesn't mind me showing you this. It's freaking huge. Yes, it is. It is giant and beautiful. So there are circle to square extensions, and I think there's 3 of them. So there's that one, and then circle to square 2, which is the one that I'm doing, or square to circle. Sorry, square to circle. And then there's the woman who wrote this pattern, her mind is incredible. I have no idea how she does that, but you can also do square extensions instead of a circle. Oh yeah, I understand that. Written patterns can be very confusing. I agree. Luckily, she has a group on Facebook, so if you get lost, all you have to do is ask, and she helps. Here's square extension 2. So this one is also square, but it's square on the diagonal, which is beautiful. And then after you do those extensions, right, they have extensions to those extensions. So even bigger square. And then you can continue and turn it into a square blanket or a circle blanket or a hexagonal blanket. And there's this beautiful picture in the back of the lady who wrote the pattern. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different variations of this blanket. And at the beginning, I'll show you that picture in a second. At the beginning of the book, she talks about how many yards and how much it weighs, because the idea is that you're wandering along a path and you can stop at any time. So you could just make the squares and then sew them together, or you can make the squares and then go into, square circle to or square to circle and then continuing circle, or you can turn that circle into a square. I mean, I can't even describe it. It is so amazing. But she was sharing, I think it's in here somewhere. She talked about how much hers actually weighed when she finished it. It was just like an interesting block. But she wrote it in such a way that you could literally make this pattern for the rest of your life and never make the same blanket twice. It is amazing. There are so many combinations, and they all work together. So like, no matter which starting block you use, you can add to a different extension. So you could do the same starting block and end up with 6 or 7 different blankets, and there's 6 starting blocks and 1 foundation mandala. Sorry. Anyway, so I can't find it, but she does put a yarn estimation on how much yarn it would take, and she said that if you start with a square all the way to the final square pattern that she has, it uses 10,000 yards of yarn, which is like, 10,000. That blanket must be gigantic. like freaking huge, right? So anyway, I think there's a fox in my yard. Just heard a noise, sounded like a fox. I like foxes. Let me find that picture again. So anyway, she's got a picture of herself at the end of the pattern here with 7 different variations. Not all of the variations, just the ones that her pattern testers did. Those are all the same pattern. I mean, is your mind boggled? Because my mind is boggled. So I started with foundation square 4, I believe, and then I am doing the square to circle number 2. And I am using Ice Yarns Alara in these beautiful pastel colors. This is a 50/50 cotton acrylic blend. It is lovely and soft. I got it for free. I've never actually bought ice yarns. Somebody gave it to me, but this is what I've got so far. And I'm making this for a little girl. It's my friend's granddaughter, my friend who passed away, the one that I made the blanket for. Oh, I should update you guys on that. Okay. So, you know the blanket that I made, that beautiful black and purple and green blanket that I made that I showed you guys, that I was making as a memorial blanket for my friend Chubb because my friend Wilbur, because his wife had passed. I had started working on it when she was alive as a Christmas present, decided to finish it and give it to her husband after she had passed as like a memorial blanket. So I sent it up and his granddaughter stole it. So and he has 2 granddaughters that live with him right now, and the other granddaughter I felt needs a blanket too. So and these are her colors. So the girl that stole it likes black a lot, so she loves that one. And then the other little girl is very much into like pink and pastel-y stuff, so these are her colors. And I love it. I mean, it's special. So I do need to work on this. This is going to be my winter project because it is too hot. It's too hot to make a blanket. But thank you, Deanne. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I love that these corners ended up looking like rainbows, like bobble rainbows. But I think, actually, I don't know if I did square 4. What square did I do? Let me figure out what square I did. It wasn't square 4. I'll show you a picture of the square that I did. I did square number 5, I think. Yeah, number 5. Is that right? Nope, not 5. Well, I'm lost. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not lost. But what's really fun about this pattern, you guys, is that you don't have to have any pre-planning ahead. You just start it and see where you end up, which I think is really great. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's very creative. She has a bunch of other patterns out too. This one is her most expensive one because it is such a huge pattern. Oh, and at the beginning, she tells you the definition of a cottywomple. So it says cottywomple, to travel in a purposeful manner towards a vague destination. So you are traveling in a purposeful manner because you're doing every stitch, right? And I put intention into my stitches. And then you have no idea where you're going to end up. I have no idea where I'm going to end up. I might do a hexagon after this. I might turn it into a circle. I might keep it as a, I might go from, well, it is going to be a circle, and then I might turn it back into a square. I don't know. I, I love that. You don't know what it's going to look like because you make the decisions along the path. And then she has these really beautiful little sections before. And again, I'm not sponsored by this lady. Her name is Nikki Chapman. And she, I believe, is on Etsy. I think. I'm not sure. But she is on Facebook. She has a group on Facebook. So it's called Wiggle Stick Designs. That's her company. It's facebook.com/groups/Wiggle Stick Designs. That's her group on Facebook. Even if you just go in there to look at the pretty blankets, what she does is amazing. So in between each section, so like let's say you pick your blocks. When you get done picking your blocks, at the end she tells you it's time to make a decision about the next step in your journey. And there's something about it where she treats it as if you're actually going on a journey, that for somebody like me who is stuck in bed, a lot of the time, hearing about this journey that you're on and being excited about the next place to go is just really fun. So I am forever grateful to my beautiful friend Michelle who got this for me. I told her not to spend the money, but she did anyway. And Michelle is also in the yarn group. So that's the pattern by Nikki Chapman. It's the Cottywomple. Michelle is in the yarn group and she dyes her own yarn. She's based here in Colorado. It's called Get Knit Faced in CO. So if you, I'll put the Knit Faced in CO. I believe that's her website. Let me type it in to be sure though. I guess I should have made it into a URL. Here, I'll just bring it up. But anyway, so Michelle dyes her own yarn, and she is a Colorado local yarn dyer. She's incredible. She actually sold me a bunch of yarn that I put into a, a subscription box I was doing on my Etsy for a while, but unfortunately, only one of them sold. So unfortunately, I have all this yarn. It's beautiful yarn too. Um, but she does these beautiful different colorways. She dyes it all by hand, and it's just her. So if you guys need yarn and you're based in the U.S., she's wonderful. If you're not based in the U.S., uh, my friend Diane of Dyes Yarn on Etsy is in the UK. And if you're in Canada, our friend Allison in the group dyes yarn, and I think she dyes yarn. She has yarn, beautiful yarn, and she is based out of Canada. So whatever country you're in, you know, there's yarn. What's a shame, Jean? Yeah, that book. I mean, it blows my mind. Totally blows my mind. Sorry, guys. I was totally ignoring the chat because I was so excited about the pattern. So it says you crochet with graphs and words because it confuses you. Uh, yeah, I tend to do a lot of videos. I've just recently, because my problem is I don't like being told what to do, so I don't follow patterns very often. That sounds bad, but it's true. But this one, because you get to decide, I don't feel as much like I do about other patterns. I'm actually really excited about this one. But yeah, I like crochet graphs quite a bit and knit graphs too. Oh yeah, the box. Yeah, only one of them sold. I mean, to be fair, I didn't really market it that hard. I did market it, but not hard enough. And then I got my hip dysplasia diagnosis and all that. So it was only up for like a month or two before I put my Etsy on vacation mode. So who knows? Maybe more will sell in the future, but I have laid claim to that yarn at this point because it's been long enough. You like to put your medical bills. Oh, girl, I feel you on that. Yeah, I mean, I think it was like $45 plus ship. I don't know. It was expensive. This was expensive, and I would never pay for that myself. Not because I can't. I mean, I can't afford that because of medications and yarn bills and yarn bills. Oh, I gotta pay the yarn bill this month. Medical bills and stuff. But Michelle's such a sweetheart. She is one of the nicest ladies. She is in the yarn group. I'm sure some of you have interacted with her. She's the one that posts all those beautiful yarn colorways, and I just let her do it because I love good yarn porn. So, oh, thanks, Deanne. Yeah, if you go to her website, I mean, she has. You know what I really want? The one that I really want right now is this, the Pride mini skein. It's and then also the Dried Roses mini skein set. She has the cutest mini skein sets. Skein, Hank, mini Hanks. Anyway, she has beautiful yarn on her website. But yeah, I do, I do have some of her yarn. If I can remember where I put it. I think it's in my closet. It might be in one of my drawers, actually. I'm not sure. It's still all hanged up. I haven't wound it into balls yet because I'm nowhere near ready to use it. But and this yarn is from my friend Diane of Dyes Yarn. I'll put up. Is anybody here based in the UK? Oh, it's not just I haven't actually been swimming in several weeks, Jane, because my hip has been too bad. It's hydration. plug in that water. Um, I have been making a really conscious effort to be more hydrated because my surgeon told me that the more hydrated I maintain, the easier I'll be to operate on. So just got to stay hydrated. Even though surgery's not for a month, I'm practicing. So got to be hydrated. This is electrolytes. It's not Kool-Aid, I promise. There's no sugar. Did you guys get some awesome bubble effects there? Because that would be funny. Oh, right, what I was going to do. I was going to pull up on Etsy my beautiful friend Diane's yarn shop too. For those of you in the UK, if anybody here is in the UK, or if anybody watching later is in the UK, my beautiful friend Diane dyes gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. I have ordered from her. She does not ship to the US, but if you order in bulk, she will work it out with you. So just something to keep in mind. Although if you are, shopping for yarn and you're in the US, I highly recommend Michelle because you should really support local artists and whatnot, and small businesses. And all of my UK friends should support Diane because she's amazing. If I look lost, it's because I am cruising through Etsy trying to find her. There it is. Okay, so Dyes yarn. Again, more beautiful yarn. If you're in the US and you want to order from her, if there's like a yarn that you can't live without, just message her. She will work it out with you because she's amazing. But she's whose yarn I'm using today. This is Dyes yarn on Etsy. She's whose yarn I used for this. This was a sock set. It comes with this little mini. It's a 70-gram sock set, I believe. So it's 70 grams of yarn. It comes with a little mini. I don't know where I put it. A little mini hank of pink, this accent color, and then the main color. And then I got two of these, and then I got one that's blue. And then she also sent me this really gorgeous mini hank of, I think it's called wildflowers or something. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. You quit Coke 2 weeks ago when you got COVID. Oh yeah, that sounds gross. Well, if you put lemon in your water, it's really good for your liver. It's really good for your liver. Just a thought, get rid of some of the ick from being sick. Are you feeling better? I hope you're feeling better. Oh my goodness. I've already been on here for an hour and 17 minutes. I feel like I haven't even talked about anything. I just miss you guys. I do miss you guys. I hope you know that. I don't stay away because I don't love you. I stay away because I'm lazy and I have anxiety. And also because, and I think I've stated this before, but I watch a lot of YouTubes and I love the people who do the YouTubes, like Norman I was talking about earlier and a bunch of other people. I know I really miss this. It's so nice. But my issue is this. I don't like myself enough to talk about myself all the time. And I know that sounds really bad. I am working on my self-confidence. It is a thing that I am aware of that I'm working on. But whenever I'm making content, unless it's alive and I can just talk to you guys like this, it feels so much like work. And I feel like it's so forced because I don't actually feel, and this is again just how I feel. It's not a fact, but I don't actually feel like I have anything that important to say. So when I start talking or like recording a video, even if it's an herbalism video, which I'm a professional herbalist, a certified clinical herbalist, even if I'm making an herbal video, I don't feel qualified, I guess, to just sit there and talk. So I don't know. Yeah, I remember that song. That's so funny. I do, and it is anxiety. It is anxiety and a lack of confidence, and they combine into a super hurdle for me to get over. But when I do the lives, I don't feel that way because I'm just talking to my friends. It's only really when I do the planned out videos that I have a hard time. But it's hard to find time to do the lives because I've got 2 kids and a giant dog and a sexy husband. And I am always doing so many things, even when I'm in bed. Usually I'm working. I haven't been working since I got my hip dysplasia diagnosis. So it's been a lot of like leaving the house and hanging out with my kids, yada yada. No, my dad doesn't live with me. My father-in-law does, and he is wonderful. Thank you so much for asking. He's always wonderful. He's just like the happiest human I've ever met in my life. He never complains about anything. He's just really sweet. But he's doing great. I'm glad you got your voice back, Jane. I lose my voice at least once a month because of the eds. I mean, and you can hear it now when I get tired. It gets a little gravelly. The more tired I get, the more gravelly it gets. So in like an hour or two, I might not have a voice at all, which I'm sure my husband will be happy about. Just kidding, but oh my goodness, it is 11:13. I need to go to bed. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think mostly ladies because there's only ladies here right now. Um, yeah, I have agoraphobia too. I think that might just be part of chronic illness, honestly. I don't know. But I'm going to go because I didn't realize how late it is and I need to get some sleep. So, my husband's taking me on a date tomorrow. Maybe I'll pop on and tell you guys about it. Trying to convince him to take me to the yard store. But it was so good to see you guys again, and I will not make any promises, but I will try to pop on more often because I know you guys miss me. I miss you guys too. And I honestly just didn't really. I've tried recording a video about my hips and the surgeries and everything probably 3 or 4 times and ended up deleting them instead of posting them. So I'm going to go to bed now and I will try to pop back on at some point in the near future. So, oh, it's so good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your support and your love and your prayers. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Deanne. Thank you, Jane. I am so grateful for all of you. So thank you very much for being here. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget that you are a precious, beloved being and you are worth more than all the gold in the world. So take care of yourselves, drink some water, get some rest, and love yourselves because I love you. Good night, guys.